I hope you will like what I will present because I will show you another perspective. I am representing here Faculty of Social Sciences. I am pedagogue, I am also psychologist, and I would like to tell you today about nanotechnology and eye tracking, ethical challenges in educational research. So it's different perspective, but I hope you also like it. This is my university campus in Gdańsk and Poland that will be also some similar for you. And now what I prepared for you today. So my outline have 5 points. I would like to tell you how I combine nanotechnology, eye tracking and education, the field which interesting me now the most. Nanotechnology I would like to show you by a praxeological approach, eye tracking by an empirical approach, and I would like to tell you a little bit about the potential of eye tracking in education, and also I will finish with some practical recommendation. Wait a second. No, maybe now will be easier. So now we start from those 3 fields, nanotechnology, eye tracking and education, how I combine it. So please have a look. I start the presentation from the question, how we could go from a scientific theory to a tool that works fabulously in social and industrial practice. So I make some research, empirical research, but also I checked literature review. And I would like to say that, in my opinion, nanotechnology and eye tracking are 2 distinct fields that have the potential to complement each other, and also that could be revolutionizing how we explore and interact with our surroundings as such between students and schools in general. So I also want to tell you about this field, that nanotechnology, engineering in general, again, at the atomic and molecular levels, has the potential to significantly improve current eye tracking systems. Why it's happened like this? Because currently eye tracking technologies often rely on, we could say, directly bulky infrared cameras and sensors. So I think so that nanotechnology allows for the creation of smaller and also more efficient and more discrete devices. So now how I, as a pedagogue and also psychologist, have a look for nanotechnology. From my point of view, I try to look at this as a praxeological approach, and praxeology is the science of effective action. So I would like to show you this another perspective, not only by a microscope, but also by the question, how to design and use nanotechnology so that our actions are as effective, as ethical, and purposeful as possible. So key pillars, which I built on this, scoping review, then is efficiency and effectiveness. So I was wondering what I could do to propose minimizing cost, maximizing results, and risk management. So now, eye tracking. Why exactly this eye tracking is the cue here? So eye tracking, as you know, is recording and analyzing eye movements, and it's based on operation of interfered cameras. So of course, what is the goal here? Providing objective data on how a child, student, or adult, everyone, processes visual information, what they focus on, and what they ignore. That is the main goal, and we use it in pedagogical research. We have 3 types of eye tracking devices. This mobile type, head-worn eye trackers in the form of glasses with a measurement frequency around 30-60 Hertz, and today even more. We have also remote type. It's partially mobile in the form of a system which a computer, for example, monitor, positioned next to a laptop or television. Its frequency around 500 Hertz. We have also the third type, stationary type. Its eye tracker is characterized by a special interface, design and a measurement frequency around 1250 Hertz. And today, even more because it's really getting fast with new devices. So you have some sample of my studies. I conducted with my friends eye tracking research with 44 children in age from 3 to 6 years old. And we had, as you could see, the mobile eye tracking, and we conduct with taking data to special software. Software was very good. It was collecting statistical issues and qualitative, quantitative issues. Without software, I could not say anything wrong. And what happened then? In this kind of research, the most important is reference picture. So it's static photo, and we are watching how children are watching on the picture. Of course, for me as a teacher, it's very important for didactic, for books, for this, how we are teaching Polish or chemistry, whatever. It's very important how children look for the information. So this was our reference picture. And here you have some results. Fixation of saccades of 3-year-old child. So you can imagine where the child was looking, how long the size was in one place, and how the eye was moving. So it's something like this. And also some more results here. You can see what was the most important for children, and it's called heat map. And also you can see here reverse heat map. And we can imagine that the center of the picture was the most interesting for children. And one more result. So here you can see the photos according to children's age. It's heat map, and the red colors, what was the most important, what was the most interesting for children, and the green color is what they ignore. And everything was good until this point, because we got a lot of data, we make a lot of conclusion, statistical and also with the heat maps, but children were complaining during the research that they do not like this equipment, it's uncomfortable, and they do not want to attend to this kind of research anymore. So this was the point when I was wondering what I can do as a pedagogue, as a researcher, to find some new solution. That's why I'm here. That's why I was scoping review of nanotechnology and new materials, because I would like in the future to come back to children with better equipment. That was my idea. So how I see it now as a potential of eye tracking in education. So I think the use of eye tracking combined with nanotechnology opens up completely new horizons for us. Maybe from bionic lenses, which I read about this, to brain-computer interfaces. There are also some publication about this. I will show you. I even find quite a lot of publication. I read a little bit, and I was starting wondering on what level it is today. And for me, as a, again, pedagogue and psychologist, was the most important optimization and new media. So I was wondering about next generational displays utilizing nanoparticles. And I read about using quantum dots and create ultra high definition infographics. So it's very important for didactics. And also I was thinking about dynamic design. So it's something like designing nonlinear text, layout, and mind maps that respond to visual fatigue, for example, detected by nanosensors. And what else? Of course, cognitive processes, the most important. So I was thinking about bionic contact lenses. I was thinking also about neural correlation and mirror system modeling. So what is the most important here? That we are working with children without the need of external cameras. And also the case of intelligent system and developmental support. So for me, what I read in literature review, nanoscale wearable, so the most important tutorial system and distance learning platforms based on wearable nano devices, and also expert novice collaboration, again, very important for teachers, transmitting an expert visual scanning pattern directly onto a student's lens. So also case of diagnostic and intervention. Of course, I was thinking about precision educational intervention because from my experience, I know that designing targeted support for individuals with learning difficulties, utilizing nanosensors for long-term observation of gaze pattern in natural environments. So with mobile eye tracking, it was very comfortable in this area. And also objective competency assessment, that I think is the future for the teachers, using eye tracking to evaluate skills and predict work performance through the analysis of decision-making speed. Now, as a teacher, we cannot do this in the same time. And of course, like I told you, I am teacher, I am psychologist, so ethical challenges are very important for me. So I found also some interesting points in this area, like privacy of thoughts, processes, and neurodiversity. I think it's very important because we can say about this how precise eye tracking via nanosensors allows for the non-invasive detection of learning difficulties. For example, like I have here on the slide, dyslexia or this hyperactivity disorder, without the student's knowledge, raising the risk of labeling of stigmatization before a formal diagnostic is made. That is the ethical point of view. Also, the next one, the boundaries of informed consent. In this case, for example, children or students, adults, the issue of genuine consent of constant cognitive monitoring areas, especially when the technology, like for example, bionic lenses, what I was talking about, is nearly invisible and seamlessly integrated into teaching process. So it's comfortable, but of course there are some new ethical challenges. Attention manipulation, that is also what can go wrong, because we can using data on what attracts the eye to design material that force focus can be a form of unacceptable behavioral manipulation, limiting the student's natural cognitive autonomy, and we do not want this. So as a teachers, we want to prevent this kind of situation. So as you can see, we want to use new materials, but we have to be careful. And also neurotechnological inequalities. We have to remember about this, that it costs money. Some institutes, they can be afford for this and some not. So that can be like this, that there will be a chasm between wealthy students and those without access to such technology. And biometric data security. I read in literature review, I did not know about this, but I think it's very interesting that visual scanning patterns is as unique as a fingerprint. So that's why any leak or improper storage by educational institutions poses a threat to a student's privacy. So it's also a clue for us. Pressure for performance. That also an interesting case, because continuous monitoring of focus all the time can be something that brings unhealthy competition and stress among students who may attempt the game or cheat, for example, eye tracking system, instead of focusing on actual comprehension of the material which is studied. So you see, there are a lot of questions again, but anyway, I think everything will be better if we think about this, that we could create new equipment that will somehow let us as a researcher to conduct our objective in research, but also as a teacher, we have to remember about ethical challenges. And now at the last one, practical recommendation from my experience. What I have here for you, this is of course adaptation, because what is good here? Real-time learning. Until now, it was impossible. We have also something like knowledge transfer. So we can say about learning by overlaying expert gaze pattern onto direct to students' field of view. We have also early diagnostics. So we can say it's very important for therapists, for example, to have rapid detection of difficulties, again, dyslexia or whatever, without, of course, stigmatization. Cybersecurity, we have to also remember about this. That's why, for example, I like when we are working together, people from social sciences with specialists from different sciences, because we can be lost all, and that will be not good for didactic process. And ethics and equality, I mean here transparency in technology used, prevention of digital exclusion, because it's also very often happened. And now this is what I promise you to show, that is literature review, that is really a lot of publication in the field of nanotechnology and eye tracking. So I think it's opportunity to somehow in touch in this subject and make something better also for children and for didactics. Thank you very much.